Alright, g'day cunts. Last video on this, I promise. That's as much a promise from me to myself as it is one to you lot. Anyway, first of all today, and I'm sure to the great relief of many of you, you won't be hearing from me. Absolute sick cunt Tom TANUKI has sent me some thoughts about all this nonsense by way of a message for the very upset Jordan fans in my comment sections. This is not for all the Jordan fans, of course, but if it is for you, you'll know. Now, after we enjoy the liquid honey of his voice and the shining vision of perfection that is Tom's ginger muzzle, I'm going to address the short bit in Jordan's I'm Cancelled vid where he actually talked about the sacred tree that was cut down. So stay tuned for that, if you're a masochist. Anyway, Thomas, go you good thing.
Yes, g'day. I'm Tom TANUKI. I'm but a small, humble content guy. And thanks, for having me on. I'm taking a break from editing a video, which I'm doing at the moment, actually, which I did it the other day, recorded it the other day. It's just a conversation with a couple of other legends in which we hashed out our collective criticisms, substantive criticisms of the things that Jordan recently said concerning Djab Wurrung and by extension, I think, concerning Indigenous sovereignty, activism and politics. The long and short of it for me is that I think that his framework is a little myopic in the sense that he doesn't really think that politics that aren't Canberra and parliamentary politics really matter and may not know anywhere near as much about the history and the impact of activist and Indigenous sovereignty, activism and politics. That's my substantive criticism, and it needs to, I'm not the only fucking one, am I? I am not going to put Friendlyjordies is a gronk in the title of that video, but you know what, even if I did, regardless of whether you love him or hate him or are ambivalent about him, we all know, and I assume that any fan of his who's out there acting as a self-appointed troll, army for him knows this too. He's got a big platform, and so things that he says do have, do catch the ears of many people. So it's important to talk about it. And if he fucks up, then people, whether they be the people that hate him or love him or are ambivalent about him, are going to talk about it. Now, as I said, whether or not I put that he's a gronk in the video title or in the video, or whether I just, criticise him constructively or call him names, I don't think it fucking matters. And that's what I wanted to say. If someone says that someone that you like is shit or has done a shit thing, they're not taking that like away from you. Do you understand? It's not like they're confiscating your Christmas present. You are free to continue to like them, even whether or not you disagree or agree with that criticism. And in fact, I think there's a way to say, I like Jordan, but I think he was a real shit cunt in this instance, and I hope to go back to liking him in future. You can do that on your own. But if someone else says, hey, I think that he was shit, or they make a video to that effect or what have you, they're not taking them away from you. So don't act as though they did. I sometimes wonder if the behaviour of the content creator leaks out to the fan base, in the sense that if Jordan is spending a long time going in tit for tat back and forths with people who've called him a gronk online, via Twitter or what have you, maybe everyone who follows him also seems to think that they have to get out there and defend his honour in comments. I don't think you do. And I also don't think there's any such thing as cancel culture. I know. I think that's a thought-terminating cliche which was designed to sell right-wing rags, and a lot of soft-left people who haven't really thought about how they might be unwittingly duped into culture war discussions also fell for it, because they also want to be seen a little bit like one of the cool kids where they can go, listen, I'm down with hard left economic politics. I'm not down with this cancel culture stuff. Again, thought-terminating cliche, because I think there's this Machiavellian practice of the internet that's gone back since the 90s, in which people conspire to take down themselves, or by going viral, or by accessing people with big profiles online. They conspire to take down people they don't like. I think it's built into the very fabric of social media and pop culture itself, doing that, or whether the circumstances under which you conspire to take someone down are contrived or very real. We've all been doing that. We've been watching tabloid culture do that with celebrities for a very, very long time. And so that thing, the concept of cancel culture is really just PCs gone mad, repackaged, or given a new lick of paint, as they do with every 1 or 2 years they do this, because otherwise how are Sky News going to continue to have opinion shows and, what's Andrew Bolt going to write about next? Can't just keep talking about political correctness having gone mad for the rest of your life, can you? So you've got to have new gristle for the culture war mill, and that's what cancel culture is. There's no such fucking thing. In this case, it just so happens that Jordan said some really dumb shit. The rest of us are going to talk about it because we feel that we have very good reasons to. Some of us are going to call him a gronk. The rest of us might not, might be a little bit restrained. I was certainly hoping to be more in the restrained camp. I suppose he's got a very big profile, but the bigger it grows, the more people are going to make these criticisms. So I just don't think you should sort of sit there considering everyone your enemy in a war who says bad things about you. But anyway, that was just my message for you lot. He's not getting cancelled. There's no such fucking thing. He's very successful. You all love him. You're just one of an army of many, many people who love him. I'm sure that will continue to go in the future. He's carved out his own space. I just don't think he knows shit about Indigenous sovereignty, activism or politics, and he's going to have to shut the fuck up and learn. And so, ideally, in my point of view, you lot, you could all shut the fuck up and look for ways throughout which you can get out of your myopic parliamentary electoral politics bubble, wherein you think that politics is only a Super Bowl that is to be fought live once every 4 years, because that's fucking ridiculous. Most of the activists I know work 24/7, and I don't mean making videos, I mean doing real boots on ground stuff. If you don't know shit about that, this is a good opportunity for you to learn more. Take it away, Yana. Thanks for having me on.
Australia's boyfriend there. What a champion. Thanks for dropping by, mate. Anyway, so, as promised, a helpful comrade gave me the timestamp for the bit in Jordan's video where he actually made an attempt at addressing the issues surrounding the Djab Wurrung people and the cutting down of their sacred directions tree. I missed all that the first time round because it was buried in the shit that I was clicking through because I was bored. But yeah, let me summarise his argument, I think fairly, in 3 main points. 1. The Maar Corporation represents the Djab Wurrung people. Negotiations were made with the corporation re the highway, and they accepted the plan that protected some trees that they determined were sacred. As well, Maar Corporation gets to represent the Djab Wurrung people because there was a vote. 2. The Maar elders have determined that the tree isn't sacred based on the absence of carvings. Science also proves it isn't sacred because of its age. 3. The tree was less important than human life. The current highway is dangerous, and in the absence of any better options for the highway, it was right to cut the tree down so the newer, safer road could be built. So, allow me to respond. First of all, the Djab Wurrung people utterly reject the representation of the Maar Corporation. When I was talking to Djab Wurrung people myself, there was this and one other so-called official group that had been involved in the consultation process. Can't remember what the other group was now. Doesn't matter. Point is, the feeling towards this outfit was, and I assume still is, not positive. Phrases like sellouts, gubbers, not our people, and of course cunts were used frequently by the folk I spoke with. Jordan said something in there about how hipsters, rich, want to see Indigenous people as right when they agree with them and wrong when they don't. Which, again, pot calling the kettle black. But Jordan, you're forgetting that Indigenous cultures in this country are not homogenous, and there's no guarantee of mutual value and respect. There's history here too, like for example, during early colonisation there were Indigenous trackers and police employed to help invaders find and deal with groups of Indigenous folks resisting. And they did it partly because they didn't always see even neighbouring groups as their natural allies or cousins or whatever the fuck. Sometimes it was quite the opposite. It is entirely possible that when it comes to the Djab Wurrung people, Maar is either wrong or simply doesn't care that much. And if we ask the Djab Wurrung people, this is absolutely the case. Now, it's entirely possible that a group that doesn't give that much of a fuck would approve a plan that protects some trees, but not all. In fact, I would argue that it's really likely that this is what would happen. A plan that can be shown to go some of the way to satisfying the Djab Wurrung concerns, but still allows the highway to be built is kind of, well, the best of both worlds depending on perspective. Eastern Maar has, air quotes, done its job, and the government gets its road. Beauty. Unless, of course, you're Djab Wurrung, and all the trees matter to you. Now, as to the idea that an apparently democratic process makes it okay that a group of indigenous people are excluded from self-determination, well, fuck that noise. It's kind of weird to hear argumentum ad populum from a guy who rightly, but hypocritically now, attacks our duly elected leader, and many more so previous, of course. But there's also some moral issues here, because, it's kind of bad when the rights of people can just be voted away. Imagine, for example, a party called Forced Jawline Surgery for Jordan Shanks, a party committed to forcing Jordan into getting shavings done to weaken his jaw and in the process destroy all of his power. Now imagine if that party won an election. Would it then magically be okay for Jordan to be forced into what is undoubtedly his worst nightmare? Of course not. It's the same thing here, and it's the reasons we have rights enshrined in our laws. Human rights should not and cannot disappear because the majority of people decide they're inconvenient. Now there's loads of actually serious examples to cite here. Seeb's doing that myself. Google the tyranny of majority for yourselves, you lazy bastards. But yeah, the fact that the Eastern Maar Corporation doesn't have the moral right to determine what is and isn't sacred to the Djab Wurrung people should go a long way, and addresses what would have been the lion's share of Jordan's argument. This holds for the criteria used by Eastern Maar to determine sacred status too. For all I know, the Djab Wurrung people have a different criteria for determining what is and isn't sacred. Or maybe they made an assessment and they feel that the traditional markings were there. Again, it is the Djab Wurrung people alone who should get to make that call. And as I said last time, same goes for this argument about the age of the tree. It does not need to predate colonisation to be sacred. It only needs the Djab Wurrung people to determine it to be so. As such, the fucking thing was sacred, the government cut it down, and it fucking sucks. Another shitty point in the continued erasure of the Australian Indigenous people. Now, on to the issue of human life. That highway has killed a lot of people. I drive it fairly regularly, to be honest, and yeah, it's fucked. I get why that's a good argument for some measures to make it safer. But, well, let's go for another obvious hypothetical. Let's imagine that the proposed update meant the digging up of graves of some deceased former diggers. Something close to the heart of the majority of this country. I somehow reckon that there'd be some pretty superb efforts made to ensure that wasn't what went ahead. And I don't reckon Jordan and co would be hopping up and down about how you needed to exhume them and then going on about fuck the heroic dead and your feelings about them because we need to save lives. The one scenario in which I will accept that I'm wrong on this involves Jordan pissing on a shrine of remembrance on Anzac Day. Which, go on sailor, prove you hold all allusions to sacredness equal. I would love to be wrong on this one. But yeah, if it's actually about saving lives, maybe Vic Roads could do some of the maintenance that they've clearly been putting off because they're expecting the new road to be built. Or more importantly, why don't we drop the fucking speed limit on that section of road? Unless you want to tell me that Australians generally value efficient transport more than human life. So, I think that addresses everything. Everyone go and watch Tom's video on this when it's up, link to his channel in the description. I'm acutely aware that almost everyone commenting on this is not actually, Indigenous, something Tom is rectifying. Anyway, I'm so done, no more from me unless it's absolutely needed. Laters.